are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So I was taking the dog for a walk this morning and I saw some kids my son's age. They were dressed in school uniform and they were heading to school. So I followed them for as far as I could, but I didn't find out where they went to school. So I got back home and I made my wife call up about 20 schools in the area. And finally, we found a school that is open for first graders. I don't think it's a very good school though, and they're charging like $2,000 Australian for him to go till March. I just wanted him to go to a fucking public school. He needs a reality check. He's just riding around doing skids, blowing bubbles, doing all sorts of shit. He's living in a fantasy land at the moment. I wanted him to go to a public school where they get a ruler out and start slapping you around with it. How do you find out the surface area of a circle? You don't know? Put your hand out. Crack. I've been thinking about it lately. I'm not too sure violence isn't the answer with your children. I haven't hit my kid yet, hard, but I think fucking hiding is a good way to get your point across as a parent. It's a good memory device. You try and teach them something, and if they don't remember, you just fucking beat the hell out of them. And then you teach them again after the beating, and you ask them again. I bet you they remember the answer the next time. You've only really got a few set of tools in your tool belt as a parent. You've got guilt, you've got encouragement, you've got incentives, and you've got fear. You've got pure fear. And if the first three don't work, the fear has to be employed. And as your kids get older, it takes a lot more to fucking scare them. Locking them in the toilet and making them sit in the corner just isn't fucking cutting it anymore. And I'm reading this book at the moment, Gates of Fire, about the Spartans, and they are kicking the shit out of their kids. They're whipping them, they're breaking noses, they're fucking their kids up. It's inspirational. And these Spartan kids don't seem to come out too bad. They end up being Spartan warriors. Now, the Boyles may not be Spartan warriors, but it may not hurt to adopt a few of the practices of the ancient Greeks. Not all of them, that's for sure. Because the Greeks were getting up to some funky shit. I just mean the child abuse. I mean physical. I mean hitting child abuse. None of the other shit. The hitting stuff. But to be honest with you, I can't do it. I don't have it in me. That's why I would like to outsource my violence to like a public school in India or something, because it's a whole different ball game at a public school than a private school here. Public school, you're sitting on the ground in the dirt. The teacher's getting paid like fucking $40 a month. There's like 900 kids. There's no facilities. The only way you can fucking wrangle them is with a big fucking stick and some yelling. That's where I want my son to go. A good fucking reality check school. But anyway, we're waiting to hear back from the school. Hopefully he can start this week. That would be a gift. That would be a gift from God. And then finally, I could go to the Himalayas. Hopefully next week would be nice. That would be fucking lush. Anyway, it's Monday, so let's get down to business. It's Ask Boyle time. If you would like to send in a question to be answered by one of the greatest minds of the generation, then send it in to my email, which is boylecomedy@gmail.com, or subscribe to the Patreon. Send it in there. I'll answer it roughly immediately. You'll also be supporting the French philosopher Le Boyle. So the links to the Patreon are in my social media bios, or just message me and I'll send you the link myself. So this week's Ask Boyle was sent in by Lockie over there in New Zealand. God of nations at thy feet, in the bonds of love we meet. Hear our voices, we entreat. God defend New Zealand. It's kind of a gay national anthem, but it's better than the Australian national anthem. Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. I don't even know those words. Our land is girt by sea. Fuck, that's embarrassing. Just go to Waltzing Matilda. Once a jolly swagman camped by a billabong under the shade of a coolabah tree, and he sang as he watched and waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. That song could not be more detached from what Australia is now. Anyway, what the fuck was I doing? It's Ask Boyle. So the question was sent in by Lockie from New Zealand. Let's get to it. So Lockie has asked this. I can drink in moderation, so it's not massively affecting my life, but it harms my motivation and prevents me from doing things in my off time. It's depressing to stop drinking, but depressing to continue. Is it worth quitting if I don't have a big problem with it? Do you think I'll end up happier in the long run? Well, Lockie, you have come to the right place. I've probably had 5 or 6 questions very similar to that over the last few months. People saying, I don't even have a problem with drinking, but I feel like I need to quit. Like, this is just casual drinkers, not fucking professionals. Just amateur drinkers who are feeling the fucking pinch. I tell you what, I'll tell you this. I would love to be able to drink in moderation. I would love to be able to catch up with friends and just have a few drinks and a few laughs. But I'll tell you this, even if I was able to do that, I don't think I would. I think I would just quit completely. Because here's the thing. If you want to get something done, and I'm trying to get shit done, I write every day, I do this podcast every day, I work on my comedy, I read, meditate, gym, and all that sort of shit. And to do all that, you need to have motivation. Anything can knock me off. I'm just waiting for any excuse not to do any of it. Like the last 3 days, my wife's sister and her husband and his parents have been staying here, and I haven't done anything. I've used them as an excuse not to do anything for some reason. And here's the thing, this is like science now. If you have more than 2 drinks at night, any alcohol really, your sleep is going to be fucked. It completely destroys your sleep. So the next day, you're going to struggle all day. Not only that, your motivation gets completely trashed. And motivation is very precarious because once it dips, it's hard to get it back to the levels it was at prior. So if you have those 3 drinks, you're sort of riding that night off and you're riding the next day off because you're really not going to do anything. And if you do anything, it's not going to be at 100% because your sleep's going to be fucked and possibly you'll have one of those 3 beer hangovers. My wife had it the other night. She had 3 beers and she had a fucking massive hangover the next day. So the next day, even if you have 3 drinks, it may not be a complete fucking write-off, but you're definitely not going to be operating at 100%. You're going to be operating between like 50 and 60%. And then the next day, you've got to try and ramp up your motivation to the levels it was at previous. And that takes a lot of effort. And 9 times out of 10, if you're a lazy cunt like I am, like most of us are, you're probably not going to get motivated to do anything that day either. So even if you have 3 drinks, you're looking at 3 days written off. Now, I'm not talking about work. I'm talking about doing some creative work. Anyone can have 3 beers at night and then trudge into work and perform at 60%. No one gives a shit. Work fucking doesn't mean anything. It's a job. But if you're trying to do something creative, if you're trying to create something, then you're already looking for excuses and it just gives you an easy fucking excuse. And booze is accumulative as well. So if you have too many of those very small nights over a long period of time, you're knocking out days and days and days, weeks of your life. And that will affect you mentally as well, that you're losing that many days where you could be doing something you want to be doing. So eventually it does affect your happiness. So I think long term, you're definitely going to be happier off the booze, but also it depends on age. It depends on a few things because you can bounce back from 3 drinks in your early 20s like nothing. That's nothing. As you get older into your 30s and 40s, it becomes something. 3 to 4 beers can knock you around a bit. So this isn't necessarily a blanket statement, but I definitely think overall, if you're not drinking, you're going to be happier in general, for sure. Anyway, Lucky, thanks for the question. I hope that helped. And that is it for tonight. If you're enjoying the podcast, give it a share around, and I'll see you the fuck later.